We are live, everybody. I got Bill Branca in the room right now. I told you I was coming back. If you missed that one little section, we talked about wrestling. But I want to give you a proper intro, Bill. So before you say anything, and I got Tony Lizio. Tony Lizio is off to the side. So Bill Branca, everybody. I know Bill from back in L.A., back in the day. I would say in the early 90s, we used to hang out at the Comedy Store. And Bill was a big agent with William Morris. He was the director and president of the comedy department for William Morris Agency, which at the time was probably the biggest agency in LA. I mean, every comedian wanted to be. So when Bill, everybody wanted to be with Bill. He was one of these guys that was like the Don of comedy. He'd walk into a room and the Red Sea would part like it was Moses. It was Bill Branca. Nobody knew what to fucking say to this guy, how to approach him. But me, I didn't give a fuck. I just thought he was, because he was Italian, we could talk about broccoli rabe and sausage. That's all I give a fuck about. Because I knew, I was smart. I knew I wasn't ready for it. So why build a bridge that's going to burn if I'm not good enough? So I said, I'm not going to do it. So him and I just became buddies and hanging out. And everybody wanted to be with Bill. And I'm like, so what do you make tonight for dinner? But anyway, Bill was the biggest guy in Hollywood, and he was a great guy, and he's still a great guy, and he's here tonight. Where'd he go?
All right, Bill dropped off.
Bill dropped off again. He's got to come back in.
Okay.
Hold on. He's got to come back. So Bill was he was a great, big agent. He used to handle Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence and Tommy Davidson.
Okay.
He was responsible for Def Comedy Jam. He's one, and he was like the shit at that time. He would hang out at the Comedy Store because he's going to come on with his phone, I think. So.
Okay.
It's probably going to be easier.
Yeah.
So he would come to the comedy. So he'd be hanging out there every night because he was actually dating one of the waitresses there, Eleanor Kerrigan, who's now a comedian. They were dating. So
I know Eleanor.
You know Eleanor from the Rolling with Dice and Wheels days.
Another thing we did. Yeah.
Yeah. Another podcast that didn't bomb for sure. It was a great show.
That's right.
We talked about it last episode, and a lot of people are loving it. And you're wearing a shirt tonight, Billy.
I am. I pulled it out of the archives.
Look at that. Rolling with Dice and Wheels, the shirt. That was actually merch.
Yeah.
Only for us, though. There was nobody.
Only for us.
Yeah. I think there was a few people. Andrew sold us some of it on the tour. We did we did a regular tour, and he would sell some merchandise. So there is some stuff. I bet if you go to a thrift store somewhere in Las Vegas, you might see one. If you really like one of those aardvark places.
And he wore it in the Entourage movie, didn't he?
He did. He wore it in the Entourage. Movie. It was sold on eBay. Here comes Bill. Bill's coming back right now. And
hey, Bill.
Hey, there he is. Hey, sorry about that, Bill. You're back in action. Anyway, I was just talking about you. So anyway, how you doing, my man? How are you?
I'm good, Wheels. This technology is like killing me.
Yeah, but you're coming in really nice, actually. It looks good.
Yeah.
Do you have
if you turn the phone sideways, it would might go
Turn the phone sideways. It's better sideways if you can.
Yeah, let me hook the mic up to my phone. Because right now I'm coming into the phone mic. Give me a second here.
All right.
But you don't sound bad. You don't sound bad at all.
You sound actually really good. Yeah, just turn the phone sideways. This way you could be landscape instead of portrait. We didn't have this kind of technique.
I don't need it. Yeah. All right, let me put this down.
I don't think so.
And
turn it. Turn it the long way. Can you turn it the other way? The phone, so it can be like sideways.
Yeah, I could do it.
Yeah, do that.
See this friggin' technology? Why don't they make this stuff plug and play?
We didn't have that technology back in the day.
Not even close. You know what? It's his screen must be locked, so we'll just do it the regular way. It looks fine.
Just do it the regular way, Bill. Your screen must be locked. It's okay. No,
actually you're sideways now, so we'll just do it the regular way.
Yeah, do it the regular way.
I think it's fine going up and down.
There you go. Stay there.
You go.
So, so I was just talking about you, Bill, and I was saying how we were hanging out at the Comedy Store back in the day, and then all of a sudden, so tell us a little about your days as an agent in Los Angeles, because that's a high pressure job. And being a comedy agent has got to be a little more difficult than being an acting agent, because comics are like hawks. They always want to just latch on to you, wherever the fuck you go. It's always about, always starts out as I'm your friend. And this next thing, they're pitching you a fucking show idea, What was it dealing with that at the Comedy Store every night?
Okay. When I got to, this is key to the story. When I got to LA, right, and I went through the William Morris training program, which I had to start in the mailroom, famous mailroom. Then I had to go dispatch packages, to like Walter Matthau and B. Arthur. I mean, it was insane.
Right.
They told me to find my niche at the agency.
Okay. What does that mean, find your niche?
Yeah, so I was looking around. I was looking in the TV department. I was looking in the motion picture department, the commercial department, the personal appearance department. But there were other people going into those departments. I wanted to be
Okay.
unique. So I told them my niche is going to be comedy because you do not have a dedicated comedy agent who oversees TV, motion picture, commercials, and personal appearances. This is brilliant.
That's right.
They
But
they
you were
did,
you a
and
lover of comedy to pick comedy though, to pick comedy, you had to be a lover of comedy, I would think.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I grew up just like you, listening to George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Red Fox. Oh my God, he was dirty. In the '70s when we would have the family dinner, and then
Yeah.
after the family dinner, we put on little George Carlin.
Yeah, I liked early Carlin, middle Carlin, and then as Carlin was getting older, I think he started getting a lot more political, and I think he was just a frustrated old man at the end, but he was still funny.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what happened then with
Then,
William Morris? So what'd you end up doing?
I had a fight with them. It wasn't easy. I mean, it was a constant fight. But I was like, I nagged them so much about this that they kind of put me under Fred Mock over there with Variety, and then I stole an empty office, right? And I
How do you steal one? You just move in and start paying rent? Or what the fuck do you do?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I had gotten off of all my training, right? And now I was in
Okay.
that sweet spot, find your location. And I said, all right, well, Fred, there's a spot at the end of this hallway. I want to have my work area there. I didn't tell him it was an office. I just said it
Right.
was a local spot. So he said, I need to sign off on that bill. Just put it in a memo and send it to me. So I put it in a memo and he signed off on it. And I got an office, and then
Love
Everything's
that
gotta be a
story.
memo, and
and
then you
then
had
he
an
signed
office.
off, and I got a desk, and then I ordered a TV set because I needed a VCR to view tapes.
Yeah, of course. Well, especially in the comedy department, because every comedian had a
Yeah,
tape. I'm sure you were getting FedExes and UPSs every day,
yeah.
loaded with it. So where'd you go from there? You stayed in that office for a while, and then you just worked your way up to do you just start as a mail room guy
But
and eventually become the president? There's got to be some kind of in between.
yes, so what happened was I started going to the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory. I had to get my footing. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
But then I heard that there was this club, South Central LA, and it was called the Comedy Act Theater. Michael Williams
Correct.
was running it, And I went down.
All the black comedians would be there. All the black comedians, I think, for the people out there
Absolutely.
listening. That's who played. We didn't go there. We just didn't do it. Not because we didn't want to, but because we just wanted to kind of not do it because, it was a
Well,
dangerous area, South Central.
I'll never forget it. The first time I drove down there and I parked kind of like in front of the club, there was this guy hanging out on the corner, and I get out of my car and I'm in my William Morris stuff. I'm gonna watch your car for you tonight, okay? Yeah, I'll give you $20. Okay, it's $20, and because
Negotiating.
yeah, I had my brand new Cadillac with the North Star engine. It was sweet, gold trim wheels. It was sweet.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
but
he
when they found out who you were, at one point, were you still paying to park, or did you get a free parking at that
no,
point?
it was just this guy. Some the other people wouldn't mess with me because people found out who I was, but I had a relationship with this guy.
This guy was almost like your personal bodyguard of the car.
He
Yeah.
he I
You
was
didn't
gonna
have a
come out there
problem.
with
No car, yeah. You had no
the
car.
car
That $40
car
would
was
have
gonna
saved you
drift.
thousands.
Dead accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about so when you were at the Comedy Act, what made you gravitate towards the Comedy Act? Were you looking for a certain style of comedian, or did you just? I mean, because you have, like you said, you have the Laugh Factory, the Improv, and the store there at your fingertips. What made you say no? I'm going to go to South Central and figure it out over there. Was it something that you had in your mind? There's got to be something to that.
Yeah, I was looking for the next wave. I remember there were always waves of comedians, like from Flip Wilson, Bill
Hmm.
Cosby, Richard Pryor, you know, and I was looking for that next wave. And I didn't really see it at the Comedy Store or at the Laugh
Really?
Factory or the Improv. So I found it at the Comedy Act Theater. It was urban comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the next wave right there.
Right. Now there was there was another agent that I saw down there, and his name was Bill Gross from Bill Gross, and he saw me down there, and he was like he came up to me and said, "Bill, so you found the spot, Bill. Congratulations, but Robin Harris is mine. Okay, you stay
Oh,
away
that's where
from
Robin hung out.
Robin
Yeah,
Harris."
yeah, yeah.
And I
That
said, "Bill."
everybody wanted. Well, Robin was hot.
I said, "Bill, I'm just here looking at the show, man. I don't have any intentions. I just want to, get a feel for the joint. That's all."
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, he went back to his seat, and this kid goes up. His name is Martin Lawrence. First time I'm there. First time I'm there.
He was
And
just a
he
kid.
goes up and he starts doing his set. Maybe he has like 10 minutes. And I went, wow, holy smokes. He just had a presence,
He did.
and his timing and everything. So I think I said, oh my God, I think this is the guy. I think this guy. So after the show, I went up to him and I said, "Hey, Martin, I'm Bill Branca. I'm a new agent at William Morris. Okay, I want to represent you, and I think together I could make you a star. And he liked everything that I said because I was talking because I said star. He had aspirations of being like Eddie Murphy's star. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And I wasn't being short with him, like, we're going to get you a TV show. So he said, I'll come see you tomorrow. I said, okay. So I
Unbelievable.
have my
You knew.
little tiny office, my desk. He comes in there and he's with his crew. Okay. He traveled with a crew and he had his
Okay.
gold glasses on. He had like his white, like leather jacket. I mean, he didn't take his glasses off once when he came to see me.
Okay.
And I said, Martin, so let's get started, man. I want to sign you, blah, blah, blah. I said, you're going to have the whole agency behind us, blah, blah, blah.
I'm hearing something in the background loud. What is that? Oh, okay.
So what
When
happened
Tony,
was
yeah.
he said, all right, Bill. I'm, you're my agent. Okay, Bill. So then I said to him, who's your manager, and he said, Topper Carew. So I said, great. If you
Okay.
don't mind, let me go talk to Topper Carew, okay? And he gave me his contact information. I met with Topper, and then we had this plan. He did Do the Right Thing. That was with what's his name?
Danny Aiello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
director?
yeah.
I forgot his friggin' name already. I must be going on.
Isn't it
Spike Lee.
crazy?
Spike Lee.
Spike
It was
Lee.
Spike Lee. Yeah.
So he had a little scene in that. Topper Carew said, "I'm going to be producing a movie called Talking Dirty After Dark." I said, "Okay." So we have some heat on him, right? He did that. He did this, and I felt that was great. So long story short, I signed him. I started promoting him, and I was getting him like $500 club spots. You know what I'm saying? Plus his airfare. But I said to him, Martin, you have to do these. I need you to go on the road so people could say you're reliable, you're showing up, you're giving a hell of a performance. And, he said, okay, Bill. Everything was good. Maybe 6 months into this, Robin Harris got a deal on the new Fox network to do his own urban comedy like show, sitcom.
Right. Okay.
Robin Harris unfortunately died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it just, everybody was really so sad because Robin was
Oh,
sweet.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a great guy.
So-
Yeah. Very nice man.
So Topper Carew and I said, Topper, what are you going to do? He says, I'm going to get him that slot. Okay. So what happened was, I think it was Chris Albrecht at the time. I think he was running it. Yeah, that's right. It was HBO who produced it for Fox. And Chris Albrecht, he ended up giving the green light to this guy who was nobody. Okay. With that, Martin put together his show,
Yeah.
and then it was time for the show to air. And the show aired and it was getting pretty good reviews. Fox only had like 50 stations. It was nothing. So this is what I
Fox
said.
was the smallest. But they weren't really in the top then, you know?
No, they were brand new.
Yeah.
So I figured out this is how we made Martin Lawrence a star, okay? And this is my secret formula. When Martin Lawrence's show aired, we did the taping on a Thursday. I booked him on a Friday in one of the new markets that Fox picked up. Then I booked him on a Saturday in another market that Fox picked up. And I booked him Sunday. So we had 3 shows every weekend, okay? And with him going to those markets, I contacted the Fox affiliate, right? And I said, "You know that new show you have, Martin Lawrence show? I'm bringing Martin Lawrence to your town." And they would get really excited. They said, "Really?"
So it
I
was
says, "Yeah,
had to be a sellout.
I want to put him on air. You could interview him about his new show, and we could plug our concert." It was like genius. They
Amazing.
started inviting the advertisers who were buying spots on the Martin Lawrence show to come to the station to meet the star of the show. It was insane.
That is insane.
Then we invited them to the show. I always gave them seats in the front row. And this started to like get bigger and bigger and bigger. Where we started at 1,500 seats, we ended up 2,500 seats, 5,000 seat arenas.
So he was doing those numbers then.
Yeah. But no one could understand this because he had nothing. All he had was that show. And while that
Right.
show came out, while his show came out, he had Comedy Jam with Russell Simmons and Stan Latham, SLBG Entertainment. Okay, so what was happening was SLBG went to Martin, and Martin said, "Check with me." I think it was Stan, was the person I spoke to, and they said, "We want Martin to come out on our Def Comedy Jam tour." I said, no. Martin's going out on his own tour to promote his own show. Okay, I'm really sorry.
Right.
And they were like pissed off at me.
But he
They were
was on
pissed.
Def Comedy. He was on Def a few times, wasn't he?
He was the host. Yeah.
Yeah, but
He was
like
the
when he
host.
was the host of Def Comedy Jam, does that make you an executive producer on the show?
Well,
Do you get
I
that credit?
couldn't take those titles at the time because I got.
You weren't a manager. If you were a manager, you were able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that would be like a conflict of interest, I guess, right?
Hey, what's that vacuum cleaner noise?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear like a big noise in the background on Tony. I think it's on Tony's end.
Yeah, I think maybe you hear the equipment.
Oh, okay.
The fans on the equipment.
Oh,
yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
Wait,
So Bill,
yeah.
when you met Martin, would you say, you know, I mean, I'm going to say you should be credited for his career, actually. I mean, that's something that, you know, even though he was working, you know, little rooms in LA, you did take him to the mainstream, wouldn't you say? I mean,
Absolutely. I built him
Yeah.
up from a 1,000-seat arena to like 5,000, 7,500 seats. And that was all because in the markets that I put him in, they flooded it with advertising, promoting the concert because it was the Fox network. And I brought him to the local station to meet the station
Right.
manager, to meet the advertisers, to meet people in the community. So I mean, of course we were going to sell out. Then we
Yeah, of
started
course. I mean,
doing
you
one
had no
show.
doubt.
We started adding 2 shows. But when it was
Right.
listed on Polestar, the concert magazine,
That was the biggest.
no one understood. How's Martin Lawrence selling out? He's been on the scene for 5 minutes.
What was his biggest audience at that time? Would you say?
Oh my God. Yeah. But I gotta let you know something else. Right before this happened with Martin Lawrence and William Morris let me go. They said to me, you know, "We've had you in this comedy position. We knew it wasn't going to work out." I says, "What do you mean it's not working out? I got Martin Lawrence. He's about ready to blow up." They says, "Oh yeah, we've heard that all before. Bill, you're not making enough money to cover you, to cover your secretary, to cover your expenses. It's just a business decision. We got to let you."
Wow.
Wow.
They'll fuck you. William, any agency will fuck you. But then again, it was okay because you ended up opening up the Branca agency on Sunset, right? In West Hollywood.
Yeah, so I opened
If
up
I remember, yeah.
See, that was like a turn back moment or something like that. Like, do I keep going forward? Because this was devastating, losing William Morris.
Sure, it had to be. But
You know,
yeah.
like the turn back moment was maybe this ain't for me. Maybe this is God telling me I'm not supposed to do this.
Yeah,
But
but I
anyway,
find it really. I find it interesting with the Martin Lawrence thing. Real quick, just to backtrack, because you said you were going to the Comedy Act Theater in L.A. and back in those days, the Comedy Store was popping too. I mean, you had people in there like everybody thought that Eddie Griffin was going to be the next wave. You didn't
Yeah.
see that, or did you? Did you not? Was he already into it? I mean, like because Eddie was slated for being the next wave.
Yeah, no, I already signed Eddie as his agent over at William Morris.
You were Eddie's agent, right?
Yeah, there's that picture of me. Do you have that? Of me,
Yeah, do we
of
have
me
that
and
picture? You have that
Eddie
picture with him with
in my
Eddie Griffin
office.
at the
Let me take a look.
And this
desk. Yeah,
was, you got to remember something. This was all the first time I was promoted. You know what I'm saying? And then they let me
yeah. This was
go.
during the first.
Right. So and then when they let me go, like you said, my brother did my corporate papers. I had to become a licensed talent agent. I had to get bonded. I had to do all this stuff. And I hung my shingle up, the Branca agency. And the people at William Morris didn't understand because I started them keeping the 10% commission,
Right.
not giving the 10% commission to the agency and me getting a smidgen of it.
So you were putting a little bit into the. That's Tommy Davidson.
Yeah, and
That's
Tommy was
Davidson.
somebody that I signed. And this
Yeah,
guy
that's
in the
Tommy.
middle was Mighty Mike. He was a boxer.
Yeah, I'll go back here. Yeah, he was a boxer.
Yeah, he
There's
was a boxer
that
right there.
that picture of me.
There's a
and
picture of Eddie Griffin at the desk, but that's okay.
might be
Okay.
there.
But Tom, if he could find it, Tony, you got that? You could find that photo of him at the desk, sitting, kneeling. He looks like he's signing something, Eddie.
Yeah, and
Okay, let me
Eddie's
take a look.
leaning over my shoulder. If you have
Leaning
it.
over his shoulder. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I sent it
Okay,
over.
but the beautiful thing is when I left William Morris to start my own agency, I went to Martin Lawrence, and Martin Lawrence said, "F them, man. Bill, do your own thing, Bill. Just do your own thing. I'm with you."
Right.
So then I went to, and then at the time, I had this new comic named Chris Rock, and I was building my relationship with him. He
Well, I'm
said,
seeing this one with Martin
Well,
Lawrence.
there's Martin right there. Who's the other one there,
and
Bill? I know that's you, Martin, and who else?
"That's Michael Hubbard. That's Martin Lawrence in the middle, and that's me. Have I aged much?" And
Not much. Well, you were wearing a
that's
hat back then.
that's his first $100,000 that, for the weekend. He did like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then it was Sunday, right? After we always collected cash. We never collected checks. So I was rolling with 100, 200, 300 grand, back to LA. And I gave it to him. And I said, "Martin,
how much would
I'm
he
so
typically
proud."
make? How much would he typically make?
Well,
Yeah.
at this
You
point,
you were proud of him.
yeah, I mean, when I booked him in the 500 seat, 1,000 seat theater, I mean, he was getting like maybe $2,000 guarantee, and I said the rest of the money is going to be on the back end. When we hit the break even point, we're going to split it 80-20. So, he always hit bonuses. You got to understand, he always sold out a show. When he was with me, he never did a show that wasn't a sellout.
Right. He was always selling out. What was the highest ticket number you think? Was it he wasn't doing stadium arenas though, was he?
No, so wait a minute. So I started building him up. This was 1991. His show, I think, hit the air 1991. Okay. So I'm doing bigger venues, like I'm doing 7,500 seaters. I did a couple 10,000 seaters. So then what happened was, I found a promoter who wanted to do exclusive on the whole tour, exclusive with me, because he saw the magic too. And Martin met him, and we decided to go with him as our promoter. Okay. So then what happens is I have a phone call from Radio City Music Hall. This is insane. 291 show is on for one season. They say, not even a season. Okay. It was a summer start. Yeah. It was on. I don't know. What did they do? 20 episodes maybe? They said, "We want Martin Lawrence on New Year's Eve."
Oh, wow.
I said, "Whoa."
Yeah.
So then,
that's a big night. That's like double the pay. New Year's Eve is always double the pay.
Yeah. So I said, "How many shows?" They said, "Well, we'll put one show up and see if we can get two out of it." So I said, "Okay, let me talk to Martin about it." I mean, this is a huge step because if we don't succeed at this is going to hurt him. Okay.
Right.
So I went back and I spoke to Martin, and we went through the pros and the cons. And Martin, I mean, he said, "Fuck yeah, Bill, I'll sell it out." Yeah. Martin. So
he knew.
I went ahead and I made the deal. I started getting calls from people saying, "Hey, Bill, you can't do that to that guy, man. You're gonna ruin his fucking career, Bill. It's just, Bill, what are you doing, man? That's a rookie move, man." Okay. I said, let's see what happens on New Year's Day. Okay. Not only did we sell out the 2 shows on New Year's Eve, we sold 2 shows out the day before New Year's Eve, and then we sold 1 show out on New Year's Day. We sold 5 shows out at Radio City Music Hall. That put him into the stratosphere.
That's crazy. So, and how many seaters? How many was that?
7,500 seats per show.
So,
yeah, so
you sold 4 shows out, 30,000 people. 37,000.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So,
it's not a bad weekend.
How did you feel from going from after just leaving the William Morris agency, because they basically fired you at that point?
Yeah, I mean,
now you with Martin.
It was all good terms. You know, Dick Allen. I tried to find out from Dick. He said, "Bill, this isn't my decision, Bill. This is business affairs." Okay. And I knew who business affairs was. Okay. And I said, "All right." I said, I don't worry about it, Dick. I'm going to go. And you got to give me a release on all my clients. And he did. Yeah.
What are we looking at there, Bill?
There's the Martin Lawrence Radio City Music Hall slide. We took an ad out in Variety, and that's the ad we took out. Now, you got to remember something. So the show grossed $1,023,000, okay? But this was 1991 money, first of all. And there's something else that you got to understand. With Martin Lawrence, we came to an agreement, Martin and I, we weren't going to inflate the tickets. We weren't going to make the tickets $75, $100. What we did was all the tickets were like $20, $25. Then we had a golden pit. The golden pit was $100 a ticket, and maybe there were like $100 a ticket, and that was to sit like within the first 5 rows. We called it the golden.
Yeah, that's how you make it. Yeah, so we used to do that with Andrew too. Andrew would always have that stuff. Golden circle, then you have the side tables and whatever, you can always nickel and dime the front and you make a lot more money.
But at Radio City Music Hall, we couldn't do it for $25. Maybe the tickets were maybe like $45, $50, but they were reasonable. Martin said, I don't want to go out and tour and my fans not be able to afford a ticket to my show.
Well, he thought about that. That was kind of him. A lot of people don't give a shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Now, Radio City Music Hall is about 7,500. Radio City Music Hall is about 7,500 people. I performed there. That was one of my first gigs with Andrew when I opened for Dice. That's how I ended up becoming his full-time opening act, was the night that I opened from at Radio City. Then he took me on the road and we did all the rest. But yeah, that was a big night. So Radio City is a beautiful room.
Man. That's huge, Wheels. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's when he invited me. I went from a 100-seat room in Pips Comedy Club in Brooklyn. He goes, "What are you doing next week?" And I ended up doing Radio City. and then I ended up, his opening act at the time, I won't say who it was, he couldn't follow me. So Andrew put me on after him. So because the opening act couldn't follow me. And then I became his opening act. And the opening act was gone at that point. And I became his opening act. I was right after Eddie Griffin.
Oh, okay.
And then, I was his open. So Eddie did some of the big shows, and then I came in right after Eddie, and I was his next major act for many, many years. But like Martin Lawrence. So I remember Martin hanging out at the Comedy Store. He was always a nice guy, Martin. A little wild, a little crazy, especially on Fat Tuesday. Remember Fat Tuesday at the Comedy Store?
I do. That was Guy Torrey.
Yeah. That was amazing. That was a wild night. What do we got there now? That's Martin.
That's one of
just a clip from the.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the packages from the show.
Then how'd the Branca agency do at that point? Who are you representing as the Branca agency?
Okay, so like I said, I saw the opening in urban comedy. Russell Simmons launched his Russell Simmons Def Comedy Jam. Martin was the host, but we were doing the Martin Lawrence tour, You So Crazy tour. We weren't doing the Def Comedy Jam tour. And then I'm collecting 10% commission. I had like Eddie Griffin at the time. I had Martin Lawrence. I had Joe Torre, Guy Torrey. These were all urban acts, black acts. I had Ricky Harris, Adele Givens. Then something weird happened. I got a call from Sandy Gallen, I think it was. And
Sandy Gallen.
He was over at Brillstein, I think. And that's the company that did Def Comedy Jam. They says, "We want to give you Bill Maher."
So he wasn't so wait a minute. So okay, Bill Maher, but before that was Sandy Gallen with Gallant and Maury, correct? Wasn't there? His partner was Maury, something last name Maury. Do you remember him?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
you had Bill Maher, who was still very relevant.
they gave me Bill Maher, and I was really excited because I really liked him. And what I did with
And he was
Bill,
was he your only white comedian? I mean, not the bad, because everybody, it
yeah,
seems like you had all black comedians. I mean, that's
yeah,
fine. But I mean, did you have any white or Hispanic comedians other than Bill Maher?
no, at that time, no. But I did expand my roster a little bit. But what we did
Okay.
with Bill Maher was I just thought the easiest way for me to represent this guy is to go to the college circuit, right? I went to a couple of the conventions. I put up my Bill Maher booth and I booked him at colleges.
NACA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
And
NACA.
yeah, and I mean that was a real smart move too because that was his audience, you know?
Yeah, oh, sure. That was 100% his audience, you know.
And he was nothing. I mean, I would have to
No.
struggle to get a grand out of them. I mean, it was
Yeah, he was totally nothing at that time.
yeah. So anyway, that happened. Along that way, right? This was crazy. I believe I went to New York because James Dixon was the TV agent, TV agent in New York, and there was this Chris Rock, and he was going to perform at Eddie Murphy Uptown Saturday night, I think, and it was at and
Okay.
I went there and I saw this kid,
Okay.
Chris Rock, and I said, "Oh my god, this guy lit up the stage." I just had a thing, and I would see a star in their halo, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I went up to him, yeah, and I said, "Hey, Chris." I
Yeah, you
think
just
James
knew it.
Dixon was there too, because James, brought him in, and then I was his West Coast contact, and I had no,
Where is that
this
now?
was
That
way
picture right
after
there.
I left.
Is that
This was
early in
in
his
like
career? No, he was
2007.
older then, it
He
looks
did
like.
a play on Broadway, and if you pull out, you might be able
Okay.
to see the title of it. If you could pull out. Oh, okay. Yeah, it
No,
was
this
the
is the full shot.
motherfucker
That's
in
the
the
full
hat,
shot right
It's
there.
and
zoomed
he
out
had a
all the way.
Broadway. Yeah. Yeah, and that was me. I
The
wasn't his
motherfucker in the
agent
hat.
at the
That's, I
time,
remember
but we
that.
kept our friendship going, you know? Yeah, I spoke to him just last week,
Yeah, and you
absolutely.
still today to this
Chris
day
is
remain
a
friends, right?
human being. Yeah, oh my god.
And
So let me tell you about this
so
picture.
back in the day with
I-
Chris, I
I think
remember.
we had a fun one
So
from
right after, he signed with
his
us
early
over at
career.
William Morris, he got the call for a New Jack City, okay? And he had a role, he played Pookie,
Okay.
right? That it was booked by the motion picture department, but I didn't give an F
Sure.
because
Legendary role.
if Chris Rock is my client and he's going to be in LA, I'm going to be with him right at his hip, and for every minute he's in LA. So I went down to New Jack City and I was hanging with
Yeah.
him in the dressing room while they were
course.
shooting, in the background and all that. And Chris was getting ready. This was a scene. He was getting ready to shoot. And I said, "Chris, I got to take a picture of this. I got to." And he said, "Bill, don't show this picture to anybody." I don't because he
That's
thought he
funny.
was looking like a fool.
And now it's on the How Not to Bomb podcast. Has got exclusive rights to the photo.
Maybe we'll take that one off then.
Hey, it's funny, Bill. When I started comedy back in the 80s, I got picked up by Dice in 1989, and Chris Rock got picked up by Eddie Murphy back then. And Eddie Murphy found him at the comic strip in L.A. around the same time that I was picked up by Andrew as the opening act. So it was kind of funny that because I knew Chris from back in the open mic days in New York, and showcase nights and stuff, and we'd run into each other, and we'd done gigs together in the same places, and we hung out at the Comedy Store. Me and Chris have a rapport too, not like you guys, but we know each other very well. And and I remember everybody was very proud of me that I got with Andrew and he got with Eddie, and it was kind of like, wow, we inspired other comedians to go out there and do their thing because, hey, you just never know what can happen, And back in those days,
I did find an early one,
so
I think.
this is crazy.
Put it up here.
It was Def Comedy Jam, and Chris performed on Def Comedy Jam one time, and that was the picture of Chris, and the other one is Joe Torre, and Joe took over when Martin Lawrence left.
Yeah, it's Joe.
Def Comedy Jam because he only did it for like 3 years, and then he became way too big for it. We pulled him off. Joe Torre took over. Yeah. And I think that was at the performance.
Yeah. That was like, yeah, I remember Joe and Guy were brothers, and Joe is they were both great guys. I would see them all the time at the store. It's interesting, the career you had as an agent with these guys, and you take it for granted, but people really don't realize it. Come on. You're talking about during those days, no one was bigger than Martin Lawrence. No one was bigger than Chris Rock. Def Comedy Jam was probably the hottest show on TV with comedians for anybody to do it.
Martin hit overnight.
Amazing.
And oh, there you go. Yeah,
I think that's the cover.
I can't see. I'm blocking that other
That's
guy.
Bernie Mac, right?
Is that Bernie? No.
Yeah.
I think it's Bernie Mac and the macaroni.
Chris Rock? It looks like Bernie Mac and Chris Rock. Yeah, the macaroni. Yeah. So when you met Chris, let's go back to the beginning with Chris. How did you guys end up meeting? Okay, you met down in Harlem.
Well, you see, that's
and then how did you end up signing?
When
what year was that? And when do you? What do you think?
Chris,
when was this?
I'm representing this guy named Martin Lawrence, and his career is is exploding right now. It's exploding, and he liked that. He liked that a lot, and he liked that. But Chris
and they didn't know each other.
Martin
Chris and Martin didn't know each other.
Okay. He said, "All right, Bill. It was done.
Sure.
He signed with me, but then again, William Morris let me go. So I started my own agency. I called up Chris and I said, "Hey, Chris, they let me go, Chris. I was doing my comedy thing, urban comedy, I wanted to call it, and they let me go." He says, "What are you going to do, Bill?" I said, "I'm starting my own agency. Martin Lawrence told me to start my own agency. That's what I'm doing. Are you going to sign with me?" And he says, "Hell yeah."
Yeah. Wow.
So here
you had
here
both
it
of them
is.
at the time with
I don't know
the
if you
Branca
could read it.
agency, your brand.
Okay, but this was September 1st, 1992.
No.
Okay,
it's a little
which is
blurry.
about right.
You can read it
About
to
a year
us.
into Martin Lawrence's thing. It says, "Dear Bill,
Put it
this
back up.
letter
Okay.
will confirm the understanding that I authorize you to represent me
Yep.
exclusively as my agent for personal appearances. The term and conditions will be arranged by my business manager, Mark Landsman. Best regards, Chris Rock."
Wow.
That's cool. That
is cool.
I would have that
letter.
frame too. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a frameable letter there. So, but let me ask you this though, because you represented these guys, but how was it for you to be able to juggle now? You had Chris Rock, you had Martin Lawrence, you had all the, how do you live your life? How do you have a life and juggle what you're juggling? You're the only one. Did you have other agents at the Branca agency?
From William Morris over to the Branca agency, and my God, I paid her really well. At the time, I was paying her $1,000 a week.
Okay.
In 1992. That's insane. But I brought her over.
Yeah.
And then I brought another girl over as the receptionist. I made Stacy an agent, and I had Stacy basically work on the other comedians that I was representing, like the Guy Torreys, the Joe, and I exclusively did Martin and Chris.
Okay. So how would you handle Martin being in one place and Chris being in the other? And if you wanted to stay so close to your clients, how did you prioritize that?
Chris came out to LA, Chris, we had to build him up a little bit differently because he didn't have that catalyst. He didn't have that show. But he did get Saturday Night Live, okay, which was huge. So I started booking him in clubs, and I told him, we got to get you to that comedy special, that HBO comedy special. It's the Golden Goose. So I kept him working. He would do Saturday Night Live, and then I would send him out, the comedy club. I would send him out to do a comedy club. He was working up his material. He was getting, like an hour set together. So we had an audition at the Comedy Store for HBO, the comedy specials, and they gave it to him. They says, "Chris Rock, we're going to give you the comedy special." So then we had to pick a producer, someone to do it. And we picked this company called Production Partners. They're a production company. They did a couple of those specials, but they were kind of like new kids on the block. So I was fine. Yeah, and that's what I was all about.
They probably had a good vision too, of the new stuff.
Who would think that I become this expert, in comedy? But I was just making the right moves. So then we did the comedy special.
Yeah.
It was in Atlanta. I went out and I did the site. I found the building that we were going to do the special in. Then I contacted production partners, Chris Rock. Everyone signed off on it. Then we had to get the material together. We got the staging. I have a whole bunch of pictures from that where, we have the CR Colorado Rockies, right? They were baseball team at the time. And we copied that logo for Chris Rock. We had that in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, we did the special.
That's crazy. Well, I don't. What was the name of that special? Do you remember that?
It
I forget
wasn't
the name of
Run
the
to
special.
That. It was jokes. It was
I forget the name of
badass
it. I
jokes.
remember him.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think it was Badass Jokes. What was? I'm going to look it up. Chris Rock's first special. What was Chris Rock's first special?
There you go.
I guess his first
Yeah.
special was Big Ass Jokes. There you go. Yeah, Big Ass Jokes. Gotta love it.
That he's put.
Yeah,
That's
there
Pook-
he is, right there.
That's
Is that
Pookie from
That's
Do
Big
the
Ass
Right
Jokes.
Thing.
Is that Big Ass? Yep, there you go. Yeah. So
New
let me
Jack
ask
City.
you. Let me ask you this, Bill. What is because a lot of people don't that are watching the show and they don't see, you knew these guys on a personal level, personality wise, what would you say Chris Rock was and Martin Lawrence was when they're not on stage, when they're just by themselves or just talking to you, personality wise. Chris was always, to me, a very quiet guy. Martin was a little more active, but Chris was always quiet, didn't want to be around people too
Yeah,
much.
Chris was always
how do you
quiet,
take that?
and he didn't say much. He was a thinker. He always looked around. He always had his notepad with
Yeah.
him. One time
Yeah.
I flew to New York because I had a meeting with Chris. I think we were talking about the badass jokes. I had to see him about something. We had lunch at a cafe in Brooklyn, and he had his notepad. And as I'm talking to him, and I go, "What's going on?" He says, "Bill, this is where I get my material." He sees things on the street, and he writes it down,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he
He was that kind of
develops it.
guy. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He was always very that way. He was always the guy looking around, observing. There he is with Martin Lawrence. Is that him and Martin, or is that Eddie? I can't. Yep, that's him and Martin. That was early.
Hey,
I knew him there.
Martin,
What about
he
Martin? What kind of guy
he
was Martin
completely
off
different.
stage when he was just hanging?
You always had to talk to him almost like it's Donald Trump, but don't kill me. You have to go with him with the big picture here, like and
Right.
how this move is right for his career is going to propel him to the next level. And that's because when you said what was
Right.
his biggest
Right.
concert, I'm jumping back and forth. After we did radio, oh my God, okay, that's Kid and Play.
His Kid and Play, Martin Lawrence, Bill.
Oh, that's
Who's the guy
Martin
on your
Lawrence.
left? On your
Yeah, that's
who's
Martin
on one on
Lawrence.
the end?
Kid and Play. Kid is next to Martin,
No, the other one.
and Play is the other one. Play.
I know Kid and Play, but who's the one on the other end of you?
Yeah.
No. Okay, gotcha. There you go. Right.
Okay.
There's Kid and there's Play. Gotcha. Okay. I only knew Kid.
He
I knew
did.
Kid. He would hang out. He wanted to be a comedian too, Kid. I remember he was starting to become a comedian. Yeah, he was starting to do comedy back then. That's a great shot right there. So tell me when you were in LA, because, other than that, I mean, you went through a lot with a lot of other people too, like Michael Jackson, and, you hobnobbed with some heavy duty people.
but
You were part of
you're
that
right.
elite
This is how
group of Hollywood
this is
people.
how
I
I
mean, would you
handled my
say?
comic. When Chris Rock came to LA, I would drop everything I was doing and I would be with him. Even from the time he checked into his hotel to the
Right.
meetings he had to go to, even if it was some deal that I wasn't involved in, because I only had him for personal appearances at my agency. He still had William Morris for television. I was with him. So
Right.
I was known as
Right.
Chris Rock's agent. The same thing with Martin Lawrence. When he was filming his television show,
Oh yeah, I mean that's what.
I was at every show. When he would, yeah, everyone. When he
Everyone.
when he had to go do an appearance somewhere, I was with him. I was so I built it up that if these guys had any problem, they knew to contact me to fix it.
Right,
I
you were the
fixed
fixer of and that's what your shirt says. What's your shirt? I fix stuff. I fix
Yeah.
stuff. Couldn't
Go
be a
ahead.
better shirt. I'm looking at it now. Now it makes fucking sense. But let me ask you this though, Bill. You also had. Did you represent Carlos Mencia
See, with
too? Or
Carlos,
you said you had a
Carlos
brief,
was
brief
represented by
interaction
my
with
friend
Carlos.
Worthy Patterson, and Worthy was trying, to get him to show, but Worthy was successful at
Sure, I
getting
knew
him
Worthy.
the special. I think he had the comedy special or two. I think he had two, and I think they were on the Comedy Channel. I think, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah, it's Comedy Central. Yeah, no, the Comedy Central.
Yeah, was it Comedy Central?
Comedy
at the time?
Central?
Or
And
Comedy Channel?
no,
I think it might
I
have been
said to
Comedy.
Carlos,
Yeah, Comedy
let
Central.
me take advantage of this wave, this publicity that you're getting, and let me book you. Yeah, but that was something more Stacy handled because I was when Martin went on the road. He went on the road one time I told you he was doing some comedy clubs. I wasn't with him. When he came back and I started booking him on the tour in the Fox markets, he says, Bill, you're coming with me. You're going to book the date and you're going to come with me and you're going to collect the money. Because he wanted no part of that. That was a nightmare.
Right.
What's that? Wills, are you there?
I think he broke up for a second there. Let's let his internet catch up a little bit.
Wills?
He broke up a little bit.
Oh, here he comes.
Might be having a little buffering situation. But I mean, I'm the outsider looking in at this moment, and I'm blown away about these stories. I really am. I'm fans of all of those guys, and I believe Martin comes from Maryland, which is where I was born as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think we might have lost him. He may have to jump back in.
Yeah, see if he jumps
like we talked about earlier with the live television.
Wills has to hear this story.
Okay. Yeah, let's see if he jumps back in, because like I said, just me being the outsider listening to all of this, I can imagine the time that all was happening, right? I mean, was it like,
and people were kind of
out of this
coming up
world?
to me, and they weren't liking the decisions I was making for these guys, but they were big decisions, like with Martin Lawrence, taking a chance on him doing those shows. If he would have like bombed out, it could have hurt his career, but it wasn't going to bomb out. I told these people, I got the Fox affiliate giving us free commercials. Okay,
you knew,
and an interview. We're talking about. We're 2,000 seats.
I mean, where can you go wrong?
And then I'm telling you, it was
where can you go wrong?
Amazing, because Polestar was reporting all the weekend shows, and every weekend Martin Lawrence sold out.
Hey, Will.
And they didn't understand it.
I think
Wheels jumped back in. Can you hear us?
You're coming in, Wheels. It's connecting.
Checking the microphone. 1, 2. Yep.
Yeah.
We call that in the industry technical difficulties, my friends.
Should we take a break and reconnect?
I think we could do that. Sure.
Well,
maybe
let me see here. If
we'll take a pause
now, we'll just
for the cause, and we'll all do a refresh. Yeah, if he doesn't come on now, we'll take a pause, maybe a bathroom break, and then we'll come back in for part 2.
I'm back right now.
Hey, there he is. All
right. You able to see me? Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. I had to go get Chick-fil-A. I was hungry. You were making me hungry. Talking about all the comics. I was in the mood for Chick-fil-A. A little brajol. I'm making brajol Saturday, by the way.
Tony brought
I'm making
up,
it for Sunday. So what did I miss on the show?
Martin Lawrence.
Well, he has a story.
He knew he was from Baltimore. This is going to blow your mind. Okay, so when Martin Lawrence was a senior in high school,
sure,
he was at Baltimore.
I'm ready.
He always told the teacher, I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be a comedian. So the teacher said to Martin, I'm going to give you the last 5 minutes of this class, and you're going to go up in front of the class, and you're going to do comedy for 5 minutes. And he did that every day.
Unbelievable. And that, I would say, that probably gave him a start, right? I mean, that gave him his confidence.
He had his first season on the show. We did Radio City Music Hall and all that. Martin bought a Cadillac Eldorado. All right. We drove it to the school, and we had the teacher come out, and Martin gave her the keys to the car as a gift. Insane.
Wow. So,
very generous, yes.
He was making that kind of money. He could just give those kind of gifts away. So, Bill, let me ask you this, and then I want to get into you had a thing. Yeah. So your brother, your brother's a big lawyer in Los Angeles, and he was friends with Michael Jackson, and you got to actually interact with Michael Jackson on a few occasions, and you told me one story the other night that to me was just absolutely hilarious about the roles. Can you get into that story a little bit? Mike, how did you go from Chris Rock, Martin Lawrence, Carlos, Tommy Davidson, then all of a sudden just like Michael Jackson out of nowhere? Here's Michael Jackson. How'd
in
that
everyone's
happen?
career.
And
maybe
how
this
does
was
that
like
happen?
93, 94. Okay. And my brother is a very famous entertainment lawyer. And he's probably the biggest and most famous entertainment lawyer in the world. I mean, if you Google him, yeah. And I'm very proud of my brother.
I would say,
but you got to understand something too. When I was growing, I texted him last night. I want to know
how's your relationship with your brother now? You guys talk once in a while.
Graduating from NYU in May. Yeah. Yeah, and he loves my kid,
That's
he
nice.
Always
you have a great relationship with your brother.
Christmas or her birthday, yeah. So what happened was,
that's nice.
My brother had been with Michael Jackson in the 70s, and he had to break Michael free from that Don King Jackson 5 situation that Joe was trying to put together. Okay. So he did that. He got him away. Then he did the Off the Wall album, and it was huge.
Right.
Okay. Then my brother advised him Thriller. Okay.
Which one was that?
Thriller?
The 1,000 hit Thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the Bad album.
That was a big one. That was probably his
I
biggest
should be
one.
right with my dates because Teddy Riley was producing the Bad album. Okay. Teddy Riley was in Guy. Okay. So Teddy Riley had seen Martin perform on Def Comedy Jam or somewhere and said, I want this guy to open for us, Guy, when we're touring. So I got a call out of the blue, Harvey Elkin, right, who is his manager, and Harvey talked like this, and he said, Bill, I want you to come to the studio tonight. I want to talk to you about Guy and, Martin, okay? I said, okay, I'm up for it. So I went to the studio, I walked in, I rang the bell, I had to go through security, all this crap. And I go into the studio backstage where there's a kitchen and stuff like that. And Harvey introduces himself to me. And we sit down and we start talking. But all the way over in the corner, there's this guy, he's kind of like watching us. And then Harvey sees him. Michael, come out here. I want you to meet someone. Michael Jackson. And he said, this is Bill Branca. This is Bill Branca, Michael. And Michael stares and he's like, Bill Branca? I says, Michael, let me help you. This ain't the first time I met you. I met you at my brother's wedding. Do you remember? He says, John Branca? I said, yes. And then he just lit up like a Christmas tree. And he said to me, you can even show the picture of me, Michael, and my brother. He said to me, I want you to stay for dinner. I'm like, okay, I want you to stay for dinner, bro.
I'm not sure I have that one, Bill.
And we could watch a movie together and hang out.
Maybe Bert can find it.
This is insane. Absolutely. Whatever you want. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so that's my brother's wedding, and that's Michael right there with my brother.
Oh, there it is.
I think if you have the whole picture, I think my father's on the other side somewhere. Oh, okay. So what happened is,
this is how it's cropped on
at
the
the time,
internet.
Michael and my brother weren't together. They had a separation, and that's me at the wedding with my brother's wedding with Bubbles. Yeah, that's me with Bubbles. Yes, he is. He's
Bubbles,
at a wildlife preserve.
Is he still around, Bubbles?
Pays like $50,000, $100,000 a year to feed him and shelter him. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Bubbles
It was
is still
interesting because at the wedding,
he's iconic.
There's a picture. Okay. DeLeo, it was Michael Jackson's manager at the time. My brother was his attorney, and there's Michael, and that's who's in those pictures. Michael had a really good team of people. They were the best of the best. When I was at the wedding, my sister and I sat next to Bubbles, and he had that little Christian Dior tuxedo, okay? And Michael was sitting like maybe 2 seats over. Then I had Bubbles and my sister, right? And Michael had a guy, he had a robe on and a thing on his head, and he was Michael's personal chef. And Michael had given him the word to bring the food. So he brought a plate of food for Bubbles, but Bubbles wasn't having it. He
Bubbles.
So my sister said to the handler, Michael had a handler, is it okay if I get Bubbles a banana? So my sister went into the kitchen and brought a bunch of bananas out, and she peeled it back. When Bubbles saw that, he grabbed it, and he went like this. And my sister got scared. Oh, my God, you're going to choke. You're going to choke.
That was it.
But he ended up eating like 3 bananas, and it was the greatest thing in his life was those, but not this Indian food.
Yeah.
They could care less about.
Prepared by his own personal chef. He'd rather have a fucking chiquita.
With Michael is we ended up having dinner together. I ate the Michael food. Harvey had cooked something. It was like very vegetarian kind of food, a vegan maybe. And then I stayed because Michael wanted to watch a movie.
Yeah.
So of course, right, we watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay. And, I'm sitting on the couch and right next to Michael. It's insane. because this is my, you don't understand. Even though I met him before, I mean, so
It's still, yeah.
so what
I'm
happens
sitting
is
in his living
Michael,
room
after the
watching Ninja
movie,
Turtles.
he
Yeah.
said, "Bill, tell me what you do." And I said, "Oh, I'm a comedy agent." "Really? Who do you represent?" And I knew what to say. I said, "I represent Tommy Davidson, who's on In Living Color, okay? And he loves to impersonate you." He says, "You represent that guy?"
Yeah.
I go, "Yeah." He says, "I would love to see him. Where does he perform?" I go, "He performs at the Comedy Store." "I could set it up, Michael. I can meet you in the back. We could bring you in. You can watch him. Nobody will know you're there." "Oh, Bill, I wanna do that. I wanna do that." Okay? And he said, "Who else do you represent?" And I said, "Chris Rock, Martin Lawrence," and he was very impressed.
I'm sure.
So then he
That's a
says to me,
heavy deck of cards right there, you know?
"Bill, I had a misunderstanding with your brother, and I had some really bad advice from attorneys. And I didn't mean for us to separate. I want John back in my life, and he was almost like crying to me, and he says, "Could you have John call me, please, and let him know how I feel about
Yeah.
this?" I said, "Yeah, Michael, no problem. I'll make sure he gets the message." I said, "Does he know what number to call?" He said, "Yeah, he knows what number to call." Okay, so that was that. I left. Yeah, what happened was I told my
And then you got him
brother,
back to
right?
did he get back together
So
again after
then the
that, or?
following weekend, because my brother and I used to hang out on weekends, I checked in with him and I said, "Hey, buddy, did you call Michael yet?" I mean, yeah, I didn't call him yet. So we waited to the third weekend and I said, "Hey, John, did you call Michael yet?" "No, not yet." It took him 4 weeks.
I really love that it took him 4 weeks. I love that your brother just didn't just didn't jump. That's a very calculated, manipulative move not to do what he did. Very
Yeah.
calculated. You don't jump because if you show that you jump, then you're vulnerable.
So
And he
he's
didn't give a
talking to
fuck. And that's what
Michael. My
I have to
brother then
respect that.
calls me
He
up and
didn't
he
jump.
says, "Hey, Billy, I spoke to Michael, okay, and I think we're gonna work things out, and Michael's gonna, come back, and I'm gonna represent him, as his legal stuff and Bob creative." I said, "Good, that's good, buddy." He says, "Yeah, but something came up." He says, "Michael wanted me to invite you to go with me and Michael to Cirque du Soleil that's performing in Santa Monica this weekend." I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" He said, "No, he specifically said he wants us to
Right.
invite you." I said, "Okay." So now this is a hot ticket. And I said to my brother, "Can I invite somebody?" He said, "Oh, absolutely." All right. Do I invite a girl? I mean, this is like mind blowing. This is something that a lot of people aren't going to handle. Okay. So I think about it really hard, and I just said to myself, I'm going to invite Worthy Patterson.
Right.
He's my
Right.
best friend. I was best man at his wedding. He supported me. He's with Carlos. I'm just going to invite Worthy. Right. So we go to Worthy's house. We go up to my brother's house. We're driving in my brother's Corniche. We go into Westwood, like Wilshire Boulevard. We pull into this building. My brother goes up to the penthouse. I'm waiting in the car. They come down, and then my brother comes over to me and says, "Hey, Bill, I'm going to drive with Michael, okay? And you could drive the Corniche and just follow us to Cirque du Soleil." I said, "Okay, yeah." It was like
So
a
Michael wanted to drive,
like
basically.
an Amazon van. It was a weird kind of
Yeah.
van, and so anyway, I'm
Yeah.
sitting there. All of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. The car comes out. My brother goes in it. Michael waves his arm to follow him, and we pull out on Wilshire Boulevard. And it's like a Saturday morning. You know what I'm saying? And you know how the place is somber. It's very quiet. And Michael is like
Sure.
driving. He's going from left to right to left to right, crossing a yellow line,
All over the
coming
road.
like Tiger Woods. I said, "Holy shit, man!" Yeah. And we
Like
finally
a
got my
kid
my
behind
brother
the
was
wheel, like pretty
sweating.
much like a
I
kid
said
behind the
to him,
wheel.
"How was that fucking ride with Michael?" So anyway, we went to Cirque du Soleil. We pull in. They stop me, and Michael has to like get out because he pulled ahead. And said, "Oh no, he's with me. He's with me." So right, boom, we get out. He puts a thing over his face or something, and then we go to our seats. They're in the front row, and my friend Worthy said, "Michael, would you like anything? I'm going to the concession stand." Michael says, "No, I'm okay." "Billy, do you want anything?" I said, "Maybe a soda, But anyway, So Worthy comes back with this big tub of popcorn. So Michael looks over at it and says, "Can I have some of that popcorn, Worthy?" So he gives him the jug. Michael does not give it back to him. Does not give it back to him. And Michael, he's just chomping it down. Boom, 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 boom. And Worthy's
He
like,
wanted the popcorn.
he says, "It's Michael Jackson." Yeah, that was
Go
Michael
get another
Jackson.
fucking bucket. I was reading a story here that you had wrote, and I forgot to bring it up earlier. I just want to tell the story, and I think Billy, I got to be honest. I think we're gonna have to have a part 2 of this show, because I want to talk about the turn. But I'm thinking maybe we should talk about the turn and then have a part 2. We can get into it because there's a lot going on after that. But first of all, I want to talk about the story you told about Martin Lawrence in Cancun, which I thought was, and I want to go back to the Martin days. So you and Martin went to Cancun, Mexico.
That's right. Early in his
And I
career,
think it
when
was
he
just
had the Martin
fascinating.
show, and we were doing those tours, and building him up from 1,000 seats up to, 7,500 seats. I got in touch with these people. They were really nice people. As a matter of fact, one of them is my friend on Facebook. Really nice guy. And he had a sponsor, and he wanted to do the Cancun Jazz Festival. And then he had me do his booking for the festival. So we went out, we flew down to Cancun. I swear to God, the Chamber of Commerce, it
Right.
was like I was royalty. I had a driver, anything I wanted, because they wanted me to bring talent to Cancun. And it was like unbelievable. Worthy and I went on that, and it was great. So then I got a call. I don't know, after that ended, we're going to do the Acapulco Jazz and Comedy Festival. I said, "Oh, fantastic." So I thought I would book Martin Lawrence on it. Like opening night, we're going to have jazz, and then we were going to do comedy. I thought it would be brilliant. So Martin flies down. I'm down there. What happened was, Martin has this routine he does before his concerts. I was always part of it. He'd punch around. He can drink some water. He'd put his outfit on. He'd go on stage. He has to do prayer circles with all his people and blah blah blah. And then I always did the sound checks because I had to go out and make sure the telebeams were going to hit him right, and all mic was used. He didn't do sound checks. Okay. So
Yeah.
the thing Martin hates is if the show starts and there are people still coming in to sit and they're disrupting everything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Martin started his show,
Mm-hmm.
and the delegates from Acapulco had the first row. Like no one was really there, right? Finally, 15 minutes into his show, they decide to show up. And there was a big hustle because they had that security. It was like crazy. So Martin turned his attention on these two people, the middle-aged man with a wife, and she was kind of a little heavy, and he starts calling her a whale. "How dare you come to my show late? What were you eating?" And he's just like doing a number on her, doing a number. They got so pissed off, they threw their
Yeah.
arms up and they left. So Martin finishes the show,
Oh my God.
and someone comes up to me and says, "You're Martin's agent, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah. Yeah, we'd like to talk to him." Who? It was the Mexican police. It was like the federales. They said Martin insulted the mayor of Acapulco.
Oh, fuck that.
We'd like to talk to him. I says, "I don't know where Martin is right
The
now."
Acapulco
Well,
mayor.
anyway, I find Martin and I say, "Holy fuck, Martin. They got the federales looking for you. They want to talk to you, but I don't trust them.
What'd you do?
You are not going to go anywhere near them. We're going to get the fuck out of here." So Stacy goes back to the hotel and she says, "Bill, the federales are here at the hotel in the lobby. Don't come back here." And I said, "What are we going to do?" So I give her my key. She gets my stuff. Concierge gets his stuff. It was a bag. I got a bag. I said, "We got to get the fuck out of here, Mark." So anyway, we're asking around, and we're kind of like ducking, right? Because these fucking, right? We put a hat on him and everything. I found a driver.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "How much money will it cost if you could take me to an airport that's flying into America?" He says, "I got to go to Mexico City." I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" He says, "No." So I think I gave him $500. Martin said, "Spend the money that they gave you and get me out of here." All right. So we're in the car.
Get me
The
the fuck
windows
out
are
of here.
rolled down. It's like a 1967 Chevy Caprice, and we're driving, and the roads have no curb. We go around this turn, and all of a sudden the wheel, like with the brake and everything, falls off the car and goes rolling over the
Yeah.
hill into the valley. And we're sitting on three wheels now. I said, oh fuck. I said, this is all that has
Holy
to
crap.
happen. Is he's got to die right now in Mexico. So anyway,
The
we got out of
federales
the
are coming.
thing. We said to Padre, we're gonna go. Thank you. And we started walking towards Mexico City. It's like a 6-hour drive. So all of a sudden a bus is coming. So I said, watch this, Martin. So the bus pulls over and says, well, what do you need, a ride? I go, yeah, ride. Where to? I go, airport. Ah, okay. Come on in. I go, how much? He said, $20. Okay. The bus was filled with migrant workers, okay, that were out doing picking all day. And it was kind of a little rough, the smell. And the bus had all the windows down. It was men, it was women. It was like it was insane. So Martin sat like 2 seats behind me. I sat up here, and we're like, anyway, we got to Mexico City, and we saw the airport sign, and they didn't go off and take us to the airport. They dropped us off on the highway where the exit sign is. And that's like an
Oh God.
hour walk,
Yeah.
No, you gotta go
To get to
through the
that's not like they only
circles,
the
you gotta go
airport
through
signs like right at
baggage
the
check,
beginning of the
you
airport.
gotta go through section A, parking lot B, parking lot
You got to
C.
go through shit.
Okay, so what happened was I walked into the terminal, and I went and I said, "Listen, I want a flight to America. I want a flight to the USA." And the woman said, "Sure. What city do you wanna go to?" I says, "I don't care." Any city. And she looked at me like I think I raised suspicion in her. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But anyway, I found a flight that went
Yeah,
into
well, yeah, I
Houston.
would think like, what
Martin
do you
and
mean
I
I don't
got on
care?
that flight. We landed in Houston, and everything was good. We were on American soil. We got to fly back to LA together, and that was my
Was better.
Acapulco story with Martin.
That's great. So all this craziness that you've been doing and all that. So then, to be honest with you, like no one's after a while, it's like, you were gone. It's just like one day you're there, next day you're gone. But what happened to Bill
Yeah.
Branca? Like, where the fuck did you go, Bill? I mean, I didn't talk to you for 20 some odd years, and I saw you on Facebook. And then one day we just started talking, but
What
like it was
happened,
yesterday, but still,
I
you were
guess
just
if you wanna
gone. I mean,
wind
all
things up,
this.
we could do part 2 another time. What happened was when I had my own agency, and I had built it up to this boutique agency, and what you gotta remember too, Russell Simmons, Def Comedy Jam. At first, remember they were pissed off at me because, I said, "Martin ain't touring with you guys." Then they called me up, and
Yeah.
Stan said, "Bill, I don't know what you're doing, okay? But
Right.
you turn Martin into like a star, okay, on the road, okay? In one season, we want to put the tour with you, Bill." I says, "You're gonna give me Def Comedy Jam." He says, "Absolutely, it's all yours." So now I had Martin, I had Def Comedy Jam, I had
Right.
Chris Rock. We got to talk more about Chris Rock stuff. But what happened was,
Well, I want to do that. A matter of fact, I don't want to talk about what happened to you yet. I just want to let the people know something did happen to Bill Branca and he left. But we're not going to talk about it now because I want to lead into that. But I want to be able to talk about what we need to talk about tonight because I want to get those stories out. But for the next episode, which will be very soon, like within days, you'll really then we can go into that fresh. But just so everybody knows, there is
what
a turning
happened
point here, people. And we're not going to get
when
into that turning
I
point
was at the
tonight.
top of my
But
game,
you'll
I
have
was
to tune
making
into
a
the next
lot of
episode.
money. All my acts were huge, and William Morris didn't want to take a friggin' chance on me, right? It turns out one day I got a call from Richard Rosenberg, who is an EVP at William Morris Agency. We went out to lunch, and he basically said to me, "Bill, I know you used to work with us.
Yeah.
I think what happened to you was horrible, okay? I want to hire you back and head our comedy department."
Yeah.
But what I told him
That's
was, I
right.
said,
That's
"Richard,
right.
I'm
So you went
honored,
back to
that
you
you're
went
asking
back
me
to
to
the
come
William
back.
Morris
I'm
agency.
honored that I'm gonna be director of comedy at William Morris. But you gotta understand something. I have an office. I have 2 people that I pay." I says, "It's not just gonna be me. It's gonna be, I have office
Yeah.
equipment, all that stuff. You gotta buy me out on that stuff. He said, put a list together.
Yeah, buy out
And then
basically.
on the
Buy
list,
the
I said,
business.
Stacy Mark. I said, she's an agent. And I had the other girl down. I said, she could be an assistant. Okay. Stacy's assistant. He says, Bill, I can't do that. I can't make her an agent. You got to go through the training program. You got to blah, 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 blah. I says, then I can't do the deal. If she don't come in as an agent, I'm not going to screw her like this. Okay. She's my right hand person.
Right.
About a week later, he calls me up. He says,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
all
you got to do
done.
the right thing, you know.
And I almost shit myself.
So did Stacy became an agent,
Okay.
right? Is she still an agent to
Stacy,
this day?
you know how I say I was attached at the hip to Martin and Chris when they came into town? Stacy was attached to my hip wherever I went.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever I did. If I
Yeah.
went, if I went to the Greek theater, you know, to watch
Okay.
a show, Stacy was with me. If we went to the Whiskey to see a musical act or something because
Right.
someone was showcasing, she was with me. Stacy, and she was really. She was absorbing
with you.
everything. And she says, Branca, I don't know how you do this stuff, Branca. I just don't understand it. Because everything I was doing was hitting. I was taking meetings, I was signing people, I was making deals. I mean, it was like so easy. Okay. But then what happened? I ended up taking the position. I went back to William Morris. I was on the top of my game. I had a really big office. It was huge, big promotion. And I guess we could
Right.
say
Big
I started to
promotion.
get a little bit bored
Yeah.
because I reached the pinnacle, you know, and we could pick that stuff up some other time. Yeah.
Yeah. You were for sure. So, well, that was awesome, man. I mean, we did
Yeah.
about an hour, a little over an hour and a half tonight. So this is going to be probably a 3-hour episode. I want to bring you back. When we just really touched on so much, and there's so much more I want to talk about. You have like a never-ending amount of stories, and then what happened to you, and then now how you are now, and what you're doing now,
Yeah,
and
I want to
everything. And I
talk
just want
more
to get
about
into it. So I think we'll
Chris
save
Rock
that for the
too,
next
because
episode.
I
Let
gave
the
the pretty
people
good
fucking
Martin
sweat.
story, and the Chris Rock has a completely different story, you know, and I want to talk about.
So we'll start with, yeah, we'll definitely start with Chris,
Yeah,
and then move into
yeah.
everything else. Cool, man. All right, brother. Tony, you want to play a little background music while we wrap it up over here?
Sure,
It's
I can
always
do that.
nice.
Absolutely.
It's funny. I'm talking to Bill now, and
You
then
see my
I'll probably be
picture?
talking to him later tomorrow or tonight. You know, it's like
Yeah.
we have been communicating. Which one is that?
Michael Jackson. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Here, this is nice too.
That's the
Just
only
to
one you
show
didn't
you how
send
I'm
me.
still
We had to
friends
go
with these
online and get the
people.
other one.
About 3 years ago, Chris Rock came to Cleveland. That's where I'm living now.
Oh, I've seen that.
And he brought Arsenio Hall, and Arsenio Hall know each other really well because I used to go to his show all the time. I didn't like Jay Leno that much. Yeah, he is. And then there's
He's
my
from Cleveland.
wife, and there's
Isn't he from Cleveland?
Arsenio. You know, that was
Yeah, Arsenio's from Cleveland. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the photo on the screen. There's the photo
Oh
on
my
the
God.
screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Hold on.
you still keep in touch with Chris. Hopefully we can get him on the show one day.
This is really special. I brought my daughter to one of Chris's shows, and
Oh yeah, we have that photo
this
too.
this was not the show with my wife.
t-
This was another show. Chris comes to Cleveland a lot. This is maybe, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. And when Chris got off the stage, came backstage, and he saw me. He's Bill Branca, and then he saw my angel. He changed. He took a deep breath. He kneeled down. He started talking to her, and it was just so touching. And he said, "How did you have such a beautiful?" Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the real person came
Yeah.
out of him. And your life really your life really is amazing now, and I see how you are with your daughter,
Yeah. Thank you.
the way you're living now, what you're doing is beautiful. It really is. You're very good dad. You're very hands-on
She's
dad, I must say,
11
much like
right now,
myself
going
with my
on
daughter.
18.
Your daughter's young now. How old is she? 11 or 12? Yeah, I know how that goes. But you're very hands-on, and you
But
really are a big
even
part of that. And
when I went
it really
into
shows through everything that you
the
do.
business, and I was in the mailroom, they only, out of 30 people, 2 are going to become agents, right? So I was up against 30 people who have family in the business.
Right.
My brother was in the business, but it was really unbelievable. But I got promoted, and one other guy got promoted out of those 30 people. I'm very competitive when it comes Yeah.
It's well, you are. You're a competitive person. Yeah, and you don't like to fail. You're very much.
I have,
You do the.
it's like I'm
You know,
running
you're
around
like
like the
you have a
Energizer
lot of
Bunny.
drive. You have to be the best.
I take, and I listen to people. Like when people were calling me, telling me, "Oh, don't do that, don't do that," and then I would always look at the cons. Well, what happens if I do this? What happens if we're successful? And then I was like, I'm like Trump. I'm going with my gut.
Right. Right. You just do it. Same with me. I'm the same way. I just go with the way I
But
feel.
for any comics
I
that are
see it
coming
before.
up,
I see it before it
and
happens.
you're
I think
looking
you're the
for an
same way.
agent, you got to go with the agent who really believes in you, okay, and who just doesn't want to add you to a roster, right? You got to go because the
agree.
passion that I had, Chris still doesn't have that. Even with all his success today, it's business. It's business. Martin right now in his life, it's business. He don't have the agent going out on tour with him. You know, he doesn't have someone double. Yeah, there are over because
Though I think those
Live
days
Nation
are over.
kind of
Though
ruined
are those
everything.
days over? You think doing that like that style?
But you know, you could still go out.
I agree.
See,
Totally
this
agree.
is what bothers me a little bit. I'm gonna tell you something. Well, like when I went to see Martin, I think he was at, I forgot where it was, Ohio University. I think, yeah. His tickets were like his cheap tickets. The bleacher tickets were like $75, $79. If you wanted to sit anywhere in the orchestra, you were paying $150, $200. They were $300 and something dollars.
Right.
And I like said to him, I had to say to him,
yeah.
When did your business model change? And he, what do you mean, Bill? I go, you're charging $300 for a ticket. Oh, Bill, I don't get involved with that. That's all done by Live Nation. Yeah. So Martin people,
right. Yeah.
they're gonna be able to afford $300 fucking ticket.
But like, yeah, exactly. He has to have some creative control. But it's funny how you said that about comedians who want to be with agents.
Yeah.
It's the way you found Chris and the way you found Martin was very organic. I always believe the agent should come to you. You shouldn't really go to the agent. You should make yourself known and let the agent see you, but you shouldn't try to if the agent doesn't want you, the agent doesn't want you, and there's a reason for it. And it's better when they want you because
And
then
I
they're going
would
to really work
recommend,
hard with you.
you know, I want to go with this manager or this agent, you know, that because they have, you know, blah 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 right now, and they're the hottest act, blah. That might not be the right fit for you. I mean, unless you're there and you're getting the stuff possibly that one of his other comics don't want, you know, trickle down. But in my situation, I was a new agent and I was trying to prove something. Go with a new young agent who seems to have his footing correct in an agency. Yeah. That's gonna work with you. That you're gonna be his only
who's
client.
hungry. Yeah, who's going to work hard like you did with Martin. You know, going to Mexico, riding through the fucking New Mexico through Mexico. What agent would even do that? Be like agents don't go anywhere.
You said
there are
what was
very
the biggest
few
show
people
that
like
Martin
that
did?
style agent anymore.
Okay, so after we did Radio City Music Hall, we called it the You So Crazy Tour. We were going down. Yeah, we went to Baltimore, right? Because we gave
I remember that tour. I remember that
the
tour.
teacher the car. Remember, Martin bought the car for the teacher. Then we went to Washington and we did the Capitol Center. It's not called Capitol Center anymore,
Right?
And it was in the round, and we set it up for 25,000 tickets, one show. And this was another one that people were saying, Bill, you're going to kill this guy's career, Bill.
Wow.
Half the house is going to be empty, Bill. We sold that fucking thing out. 25,500 tickets, something like that. But you want to hear something? I didn't file it with the Guinness Book of World Records because we would have had the largest audience for a comedy show because but who knew? Because if you go in the Guinness Book right now, there is a comedian, I think he was in Australia or something, and he did like 30,000 tickets or something. Yeah. But I would have had my name in the Guinness Book.
Yeah. God. Well, listen, there's always another try. We can go looking for comedians. We can go to New York tomorrow, go to the Comedy Store and just assume the position, Bill.
My God.
We'll just show up like nothing fucking happened.
Wheels and
Branca.
Like,
what happened?
And you bring our show.
Wheels and Branca. All right, man. I want to come.
When I was at the Comedy Store, I always loved seeing you, Wheels. I mean, I lit up when I saw you because I would immediately go over to you right? We would be standing in front or by the Wall of Fame or something, and I would start talking to you about Scott Bean.
Yeah, I know. Scott Bean was our conversation. Other comedians are trying to figure out what set they're going to do tonight, just in case you walk in the room.
Yeah.
And all I gave a fuck was, you got to put red pepper and brown the garlic a little bit
in the pan. You don't have to boil it, blah, blah. And I'm like, that was fantastic because that's my favorite
you don't have to boil it.
And my kid loves it too, but that's what we were talking about.
Oh, I love it. I like the name you came up with, From Broccoli Rob to Hollywood. That would be a great book. So let's come back. Let's come back and talk about more about Chris Rock. We're going to talk more about Chris Rock, more about Martin Lawrence, more about a lot of other stuff, a lot of stuff that's going on today, and then we're going to talk about what happened to Bill Branca.
I had to take
so
an exit,
we're going to come back after that.
Left.
I'm sure you'll have exit station.
Yeah.
That's all right, but now you're back. Now you're back in it, and people are getting to finally see you again, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch we'll be on Spotify and iHeart and everything else tomorrow. So maybe tonight or tomorrow. So, all right, Billy Boy, always a pleasure. And Tony, let's play this out. Welcome to How Not to Bomb, everybody. Stay tuned for part 2 of Billy Branca coming up in the next couple of days. I'm signing out.